Monday, October 23rd, 2017, and I call the Potter County Commissioners Court to order. Our designated prayer is not here, so the sheriff has said he would do this for us. So if y'all please stand for invocation and remain standing.
Just pray with me. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this wonderful day. We thank you for the glorious Son that you brought upon us, Lord, and we just praise your name for everything that we have today, and we give you the thanks for that. Lord, we just ask you to be with our commissioners this morning as they go through the agenda for the county and the items that need to be discussed, and may they use your wisdom as they go through this, Lord. We just ask you to be with each and every one of the county employees as we go throughout our week and our day. Lord, we just ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Number one is approval of the minutes of October 9, 2017, and also October 11, 2017, Commissioners Court meetings. Any changes to those? No, so approved. Number two, vouchers to consider and act upon the approval of the payment of vouchers processed by the County Auditor's Office for the period of October 4 through October 18, 2017. Check numbers 177293 through 177469 and wire transfers 973 through 979 in the amount of $2,223,585.97. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the vouchers as presented.
Second for discussion. I have two questions, Judge. Page 7 of 15, check number 177369. Roughly, there's several line items in the amount of $6,000. Sheriff, this is at the detention center, medication management visits.
This is on mental health.
The mental, okay, all right. I wanted to confirm. Thank you. And then page 10 of 15, check number 177411, the amount of $34,700. Palmer Painting, Mike, I'm assuming, are we getting reimbursed on this? Is this listed under the courthouse restoration project?
That'd be up to the county attorney how they pursue that. Y'all gave us the permission.
Right, to do the work. Are we seeking reimbursement on that, Tad and Scott?
We are seeking recovery from open house,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a case on file.
Okay,
Yeah, it's ongoing.
Yeah, it will be a while before it's resolved.
okay. So you'll keep us posted with it?
Sure.
Okay. How, do we earmark that different on the accounting side, Carrie, to make sure we don't lose sight of that it might be part of a case? Okay. Just want to make sure 6 months, a year down the road, we don't forget about that one. Okay.
You're on it, right? Yeah, you're on it.
It is very contingent that there be a recovery, but yes, we'll
Okay.
do our best.
All right. Thank you.
Well, you have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, 5-0. Thank you. Insurance report, to recognize the insurance fund report. Kay is back with us. I'm happy to see her today.
Welcome back.
It's good to be back.
There's nothing unusual to report on the insurance report,
Okay.
but I'll come on that for the next
Yeah,
one.
that's the next one, okay. So number 3 is recognized. Number 4, retirement benefits, county choice silver. To consider and act upon renewing the county's participation in the county choice silver program for county retirees. Does a retiree have to have silver hair? I'm just asking.
No, okay, absolutely not.
Okay,
Absolutely not.
I got enough for a few folks.
you do.
This is just an annual review for the County Choice Silver plan offered by Texas Association of Counties as a supplemental, a Medicare supplement that we offer to all retirees. We actually just have a very small handful that take it. I think right now we have, between 3 and 5 on it. I failed to check this morning exactly what the number is, so it's a minimal participation, but we do have a handful of folks that choose to take County Choice Silver as their supplement. And we have been renewing for a number of years, since before my tenure here, with Texas Association of Counties and County Choice Silver. There's a little difference this year because in years past, it's just been always the same plan. We had the same plan. This year, there are some choices to make in the plan, and I think the key to remember is if we make any changes to the plan, it also changes the plan for all of the existing folks that are on the plan. They can't be grandfathered in, so if we were to make a change, they would also have to move to the new plan or choose something different during the Medicare renewal open enrollment period each year. We are currently, you should have in your packet a little summary sheet that shows the differences in the plans that were being offered. Plan F is the plan that we have historically offered, which pays 100% of the Medicare eligible expenses, including all of the Part A and Part B deductibles. There is an increase of $23 and 66 cents, I believe, 77 cents. $23.77 per month is the increase if we remain on the same plan and afford the same benefits to our retirees. There are 3 other options, but you'll notice in that summary that it would mean a substantial decrease in benefits to our retirees. This is at no cost to the county. It's all paid by the retiree. And so because of those things, my recommendation would certainly be to remain on the Plan F and renew the plan for our retirees as it exists today.
I make a motion, oh, I'm sorry.
No, how do you,
I make a motion that we
oh,
approve.
before you make the
Yes, go ahead.
just curious as to the, you mentioned that there were not very many retirees that are taking part in the retirement plan. Is that because of Social Security and their prior professional retirement?
Well, there are virtually hundreds of different supplemental plans that a retiree can choose to participate in. And we just give this as an option as they're leaving employment on retirement. And we've just had just a few take this option. You know, there are so many Blue Cross Blue Shields, Humanas, you know, and
In the
people
whole
just
scheme of
choose.
things, how does ours fit in that niche of all the different options out there?
It's a comparable plan. It may be because it's not as widely known. I really can't tell you the psychology and why people don't take this plan as opposed to other plans, but it's just one in a sea, if you will, of potential supplements that a retiree can take.
Thank you.
All right, I make a motion that we approve renewing the county's participation in the County Choice Silver Program for county retirees and to stay with the existing Plan F.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Votes 5-0. Thank you, Kay.
Okay, and I will have documents to sign after
You
court.
want me to sign this one or no?
You can, that would be fine. It's a copy, but it should be fine.
Okay.
Look them up.
Thank you. My number 5, treasurer's report. Leanne is still out, and Brooke is here today to give you some numbers. I heard that Leanne is going to be at the hospital today. Good.
That's the plan. As of this morning, our general checking account at Amarillo National Bank is earning 1.27%, and with a balance of $17,045,468.26. Tax total is 1.03%, $402,434.63. Taxable prime is earning 1.09%. 1.27%, with a balance of $2,081,267.86. And Texas Class is earning 1.27%, balance of $638,166.97, for a total cash on hand of $20,167,357.72.
Brooke, just a follow-up question. Do you know why we're so kind of top-heavy in the A&D investment, 17 million, as opposed to Texas Pool Prime, since they're pretty similar?
Because we've been earning more Emerald National Bank, so she's been trying to keep more there. Texas Class and Texas Pool Prime are now needing Emerald National Bank, we just haven't moved anyone around.
Okay. Someone's watching that in her absence. Okay, thank you.
Thanks for, any questions on that? Alright, so recognize. Before we do, is there anybody here from the home health care? Bill, Becky Campbell, anybody? Okay, number 6, City of Amarillo tiers, number 1, to review, comment on, and consider for approval the following tiers as proposed by the board of directors. Tiers number 1 for the following projects: Woolworth Building Development and Levine Building Development. How are you?
Good morning. Wonderful. Thank you for having us. So I'm here today to simply review with you 2 different projects that the City of Amarillo Tiers Board has heard and approved. The ordinance number 7076 that was established when Tiers Board was established requires that the city staff come to you all and make a brief presentation, taking comments that you have on those projects and then forward those to the City Council. Our City Council will be meeting on these 2 items tomorrow, so today I'm here to give you some background and then mainly listen and see if there's any comments that you'd like me to forward on to them. So in your background packet, you have quite a bit of information, and I won't go through all of it, I'll hit the highlights, but that packet included the letter from Scott Bentley, our chair of the Tiers Board, kind of summarizing the action the board took and the different financial factors that are included in that. You also received a copy of the staff reports that will be forwarded to the City Council for their consideration tomorrow. So 2 projects here as outlined in the captions, and I'll quickly go through the locations of those. We'll start with talking about the Woolworth Building first, and that is again located at 626 South Polk. If you've been through the downtown area even fairly recently, you've started to see many of the changes that will echo some of the initial elevations that they've turned in on those projects. And so for this particular request, the request that was brought forward was a 90% property tax rebate with a cap of $200,000. Obviously, there's still a lot of unknowns at this point in terms of what crowd will evaluate those properties at, in terms of when the projects will finish. But initially, our economic development and finance staff have done some initial research on this and estimate that that cap will likely be reached around a 5-year time period. So this is a shorter fuse tax rebate than what you're probably used to seeing. As part of this, the renovations for the building, it's just over 28,000 square feet, and it will be segmented into retail restaurant space, warehouse storage space, and then also some common areas. Just under $2 million in private investment, and staff did look at this project in the context of the Tiers project plan, the downtown strategic action plan, and it has also been through approval by our downtown design review board and was approved as being consistent with all of the design standards that the city has imposed on that area. So I'll briefly flip through just a few graphics here. This is the original plan that was submitted for that design review I just mentioned, showing how that facade will look. Again, if you've driven by, you can see that a great deal of this work is already in place there. And this is a photo that was taken before that work began. And these are the renderings that were submitted, again, very much in representation of what you can see when you go by that project. So at the Tiers Board meeting in August, they did approve that 90% tax rebate. It was unanimous with a 6-0 vote, including one of their representatives. And again, I mentioned that that will be considered by the council tomorrow. Then I'll skip over to the Levine's Building project. This is just down the street at 800 South Polk. There were 2 requests on this particular property. The initial request came in March, where they asked for a $300,000 reimbursement for various improvements that were associated with this site. The Tiers Board actually recommended a $50,000 reimbursement rather than the $300,000. That was largely in part to the financial constraints in place at that time. A second request came back to the Tiers Board, which sort of modified that initial request and also seeking a tax rebate, also seeking 90%, and in this case being capped at $300,000. And so in this particular project, you're getting just under 60,000 square feet of mixed retail, office, warehouse storage use, and then some common areas, again, all in keeping with that downtown plan for the area. About $5.5 million in private investment, and again, it was reviewed and found to be consistent with all of the tiers goals, the Downtown Design Review Board standards, and our downtown strategic action plan. Again, here are a few photos that were taken kind of at the outset of this project. You can see that a lot has happened since then. These are the renderings, and so there's some additional parking to be gained here as well, which is something that the board members talked about and were supportive of. And then here's another view of the back of that building. And so again, in summary, 2 different items were approved for this particular project, a $50,000 reimbursement. That was unanimously approved in March with a 7-0 vote. And then the 90% tax rebate is going to be capped at $300,000. Also unanimously recommended is one of the representatives in attendance. So with that, I know it's a very brief overview, but if you have any questions, I'll try to answer those. And then we also have 4 representatives of the projects in attendance, should you have any questions that are specific to them.
Thank you.
Okay, choke out.
I have a question. So I'm looking at the Woolworth building and the Levine kind of side by side to look at both of the asks. I'm showing the development ownership under LP as the owner. What is LP?
That is probably a better question for folks here in attendance.
Who is LP? What is LP? What is that entity?
That's a limited partnership
Right, okay.
of several groups of investors that are involved in the project.
And who are those partners and investors?
Do you have a list of those, AJ? I don't have I might be able to have it in the application, I'm not sure. Do we have that, Tom? I believe it's in there.
Okay, as you're pulling that.
Okay, here, I can answer part of this. I'm Joe Bob McCart. The partnership that owns the Woolworth building is a partnership by the name of 79101 Limited Partners, I believe. It is the managing partner on that is Prana Development Group. Prana does some stuff in Northeast Amarillo at the air base, some other things. We also have some other limited partners that have invested in that particular project, or in a couple of $1 million of private capital has gone into 79101. 79101 also owns a strip of retail on 6th Street, I think it's 101 Southwest 6th. It's where the Subway sandwich shop and all of that. There's another building at 7th and Van Buren where Motion Industries is. A couple other buildings throughout downtown. So, I mean, that particular partnership is there. 79101 basically is the same ownership that owns 800 South Pope. We thought we were going to be bringing in additional equity capital from outside that partnership to do the Levine's building, so we set up a separate company or a separate partnership. We ended up not doing that, and 79101 is the main partner also in the Levine. So those two partnerships are basically owned by the same people.
And Prana being the financial investor in both of these projects?
And it is the general partner, managing general partner.
Okay.
But those folks are the ones that have put the most money in this.
And who owns, Joe Bob, who owns Prana? Or what entity?
Prana, I'm one of the managing partners, okay. Alan Rhodes, Frontier Capital Group, Kathy Cornett, a series of several folks. They're all pretty much local to this area.
Okay. And if I remember right, this has been many years back, but Prana, the entity, did they not get a tax abatement from us out of
Yes,
the
yeah,
entity, at the AEDC property? Their new building out there?
No, it was a separate partnership. Prana was not involved, but we were. Some of the same people were, but Prana, I don't believe Prana is the general partner up there. Maybe they are, but I don't think so. CPT is what you're talking about, where we put Emerald Gear as well as Lindsay Manufacturing, and then and that has worked out very well at this point for.
Yeah, and I'm just, I guess mentally, I'm trying to make sure that we're not double dipping from project to project. I think that's why I'm asking for the ownership and what that looks like.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to mentally wrestle.
I'll tell you, I mean, several of the people, I mean, we develop things all over Emerald, okay? And so, I mean, we also have interest in some stuff on Sonsi. And so, you know, the medical center out there at Sonsi at 34th, we have an interest in that. We have several things around.
So for both of the entities, LP being the ownership, the developer that's listed, but it looks like representing by different individuals. So one, the Woolworth, Joe Bob, that has you, and the Levine has Jim. Is there a reason they're represented by different people?
No,
on the
I mean,
projects?
Jim works with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's just who was in the office and signed the deal.
Okay.
Different projects shouldn't matter. I'm really excited about what I see going on in the city of Amarillo, especially the Polk and these two projects and other projects that are going on there. And I was the Potter County representative, voted for this on the tier, and I supported both of them. And I'm hoping that you'll move quickly and we can get downtown and just a great place to come to live. Thank you.
Well, thank
Hear
you.
the noise outside, you can hear the noise.
Yeah.
That's called progress.
That's great.
Okay, I do still have a couple more questions. So it references the historical content of both of the buildings.
Yes.
Were historical grants pursued for these projects?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, historical grants, Texas Historic Commission.
Right.
We've gotten their approval. We're going through that process on the Levine's building. It turned out that too much demolition over the last 25 years had happened on the Woolworth to be able to qualify, if you will. We are getting, I think,
It's tax credit.
10% tax credit on the Woolworth, and we're doing the historic tax credit on the Levines, which, quite frankly, is the only way that we would be able to make the Levines economically feasible. I mean, it's taking so much money to do that.
Yeah, I see Tiers dollars as payer of last resort is the reason that, make sure that we're pursuing.
Tiers really helps us on both of these projects do the streetscape, basically, and some of that type of stuff. The stuff that costs a lot of money and doesn't return. I mean, we got everything that we do, it has to pay. I mean, it's real simple.
Two more quick questions and then I'll be done here. On the recap that Chairman Bentley provided, in particular on the Woolworth building, there was language that the tiers was being requested for the rate of return, what you've already kind of requested. What is the rate of return that your entity, the LP partnership, is trying to achieve with this project? Is there 10%, a 5%? What, I've never seen language that Tiers dollars are being pivoted for a rate of return. I'm just interested to know what that rate of return is that you're trying to get.
In the original application, there is that kind of information.
Yeah, and I'm just asking
Right, and I can't remember, I'll tell you, it's probably a single digit kind of return going in, because, the project overall is tight, and, everything we can do to get, help by way of where we are today, but also tax credits, other things like that are critical, because the cost of construction is so high, it's the same here as it is anywhere else in Texas, but the, the rental rate is different.
So AJ, I think you're just here for our comments, you don't expect any formal action. From my perspective, and I don't know if you're just kind of collectively taking our comments, I definitely see the value in the $5 million project, the $5 million project, and it looks like a total of $350,000 in terms of support for a project of that scale and that scope. I wrestled a little bit with the 1.9 and a $200,000 incentive, and I think I'm just basing that on the overall project scope and the same entity, right? Because that prohibits other individuals from coming after those dollars down the road. So those are my comments for what they're worth.
I think it's important to remember that this is a rebate of taxes that are being paid by the entity. It's not taking money from someone else and giving these people money. It's a rebate of taxes we've already paid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's great progress, so definitely keep it up. I mean, it's great.
I think the greatest, maybe analogy for why the two projects are similar in the request is that even though one project is smaller, they still have 3 block faces of streetscape. So the impact, and we're hoping to have a huge impact, obviously, on Polk Street, but you got 2 other block faces as well. So the economic impact is about the same on the small project.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to discern that both projects at one time, because recognizing that these are the tax dollars that are being put into it, but the TIP fund, where all of this lives in, that just being mindful of other development coming, because there will be other people asking, and certainly they should be, right? I mean, we're continuing to set a precedence every time this happens. So just being mindful of both projects and the amount of investment. I mean, $5 million, so certainly that's significant. 1.9 is significant, but.
Okay, anything else?
Thank you all for being here this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look forward to interaction.
Thank you.
All right, number 7, Texas Association of Home Care and Hospice Happiness is Home to consider and act upon designating November as the official home care and hospice month. We have the handout in your packet is a resolution given to us for just to make this official for the month of November. So I need a motion on that. Anybody in the audience need a question? Any question about this?
I move that the Park County Commissioners Court designate November as official home care and hospice.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor? 5-0, thank you very much. I will just sign this. Number 8, tax assessor claim to consider and act upon the 2017 tax roll. Sherry. Morning. So it's all, these numbers are correct and accurate, so I can sign off on them today, right? So all you could get was the 50 billion.
I make a motion that we approve the 2017 tax roll as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor, raise your hand. It goes 5-0, thank you very much, Sherry. So anything else you need to add? I'm gonna sign this right now, okay? And I'll send it back to Mr. Gabbard, right? Oh, yes, yes. Julie, help me remember that, and we need a copy of that, okay? Number
Number 9, elevator maintenance contract to consider for approval and elevator maintenance and service agreement for fire station number 3. I didn't have anything in the packet on that. Is someone, Nicholas, are you gonna talk about this?
Yeah, it's a little bit confusing. So, we had it 2 weeks ago, and there were some issues I had with it, and. Yeah, that's right. Basically, Consumer Reps has come back and said, we can't do that. So my whole issues were their industry says their service hours are 8 to 4:30. Anything else is overtime. I wanted that changed to when the building was occupied. It is just a fire station, so it's not as occupied, but they're not being very, customer service oriented. So just so we have one in place, we're gonna go ahead and just move forward with the approval of it. And the only thing that I brought last week was the amendments to the contract. I thought that you guys would. You have a copy of it. I don't think we have that version, so sorry, you don't have a copy of it. It's, all they do is come out, they give us inspections, 4 annual inspections. They are who we call, who we control, and they say they give us a kind of break, and, I don't know what the break is on. Anyhow, this went back and forth with Chad and their legal department, probably.
Do we need a copy of the contract in hand?
I've got it, I think it was in the prior meetings. And it's so, now I understand that facilities it's all right with it now. And so it's ready to be, it's on the agenda, to be approved. Motion made forward.
So let me just add, just to clarify, that their working hours from 8 to 4:30, is that correct? So, good to know. So next time I get caught in an elevator, I'll make sure it's before 4:30.
Do it in this building because the
Okay.
working hours are longer.
Gotcha.
Well, they are.
35 minutes, like an elevator was.
No, I had their representative hand delivered me a contract 4 days before it was due. And I never had that, so I took it to, purchasing, and I said, hey, could I do this? And she's like, make changes if you need to. So I went back and pulled a current contract for the courthouse, and, I changed the time to match the courthouse. I didn't change anything. Oh, I scratched out some like useless stuff that was already scratched out, which they said that was okay. Basically,
We scratched out some legal stuff.
I have the amendments right here, you can want them, but I know you need the whole thing. I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know it was from last time, I'm sorry.
It's kind of confusing. I know you don't want to see the cost and all the rules, but.
Yeah. I think we need to wait till we have.
You probably did.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know if I was furnishing the contract, if, I didn't know.
That's okay.
So,
But I'm sure they have an insertion there for emergency.
they do.
There was some thought that, to my understanding, that there might be an effort to find somebody else to provide this service. Now I understand it's okay as amended. So I have it on my desk, I can put it back.
Okay.
I think what maybe our thought process was, I can't, this isn't, found in whatever, but if that's the customer service we're getting, it may be beneficial to kind of bring in some other options, for future. But you still need somebody in play right now, in case the elevator doesn't get out, or something like that. So they're not very nice, I guess is the best way to say it.
Yeah, I saw the emails back and forth.
We've had issues with them for years. We'll be working on that between now and this time next year to get it ready to go out to bid and get rid of that state contract.
Yeah, okay.
My apologies.
That's okay, so we're gonna pass that till next time, that way we'll have it in hand.
It's up at the office.
But you have it, get it? Okay.
Can we do that, address that Friday mornings in Commissioner's Court, or we make that a habit of doing that?
Put it on the agenda.
We can do that real fast, okay?
The company agreed to all the things we wanted, needed for the legally objectionable. What they didn't agree to was change the service hours. And at the point of the service becomes overtime service and overtime charges, which is 4:30. That's what we proposed to change, and that's what they rejected. So there was some talk of looking for another provider. Everything else that we asked for, they had no problem.
Their normal rate is around $200.
Okay, we'll put that on there for Friday morning and get that done. Okay, number 10 was passed, we're gonna pass it again.
Yeah, and I apologize that too, this is the third, position that we've had down on the agenda. What I wanted to do was to speak with, business subject matter experts. And full disclosure, I haven't met yet with, district attorney, so, that's due this week, and then, all of the, to be in place, we'll get the presentation on.
Okay. Okay. All right, number 11, Potter County IT projects. Your report from various Potter County IT projects, take any action necessary. Brandon, how are you?
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of come and discuss what we've been working on, what we're gonna be working on. We've got several things that are actually happening, which is a good thing. The LAC building is being wired right now, so they're in the process of putting all the cable, there's all the cameras and the network and all that kind of stuff.
And that's the law enforcement.
The law, sorry,
complex.
yes, the law enforcement complex. They've got the vehicle maintenance garage already, the cable's already in there, they just need to come back and turn it on. And so they're following kind of a pattern of building that building to get all that put in there. We've also got all the disaster recovery equipment, all the hardware in, and we're working with that vendor to get that set up. We're gonna set it up in our office first and kind of get it going and figure out how to use it and work with it. So, and then we've also got, the UPS for our data center out of the law enforcement complex there. We're gonna be working that, so that'll probably be on one of the next few, court agendas to order that too, for that room, so. Look for that to come. We also have, we're getting some other, a bunch of other equipment we'll be ordering in, PCs, all that kind of stuff. All the things that we're gonna need for everybody to get moved in there, so, that'll be coming up as well. We've also got the county extension tower is up now. It's the concrete's been poured and dry, the tower's there. They're hooking equipment up to it. We're waiting on one piece of equipment yet to come in, and then they're gonna align it, and we should be able to move them off of their team onto that. So that'll be a good thing. I'm looking forward to getting that done. We also, we'll be able to, once we have them off that T1, we'll be able to cut all those T1s that we have around the county. And it's actually gonna be quite a significant savings. It's pretty close to about $20,000, so that it was saved. So that's a good thing. The cost for that tower itself came in just under about $26,000 for everything. So, also, one of the things that I think I'm gonna probably be doing is visiting all the different departments, just to kind of see what we need to do as a department, where we are lacking, where we're doing a good job, those kind of things. What's coming up for the different departments and what we can help them with. Some of those kind of things like that. I think that'll be a good idea. So, we We are also in the process of reconfiguring and rebuilding the VDI system. So we've done some changes to some of the sheriff's office, the tool that they use for that. And it seems, of course, we had some hiccups with it at first, but.
Is that the virtual desktop?
Yes.
deal? I'm hearing a lot of discontented folks.
And that's why we're working on
Okay,
it. Yeah. And that's the thing, I think we've got a lot tied up into equipment for that. And it shouldn't be something that just goes away for sure, but it definitely needs fixed. So, we also we're looking at, different legacy software that's out there. You know, we're going to need soon, hot check software is available. Several things that we still figure out what we need to do with that. So, we are looking into that. And we are also, right now, working on internet contracts for the county. We are going to be able to triple the bandwidth that we have. So maybe just how much we can do. So we can triple it for about the same price. So that's kind of what we're doing for that. And I think that'll be a really good deal. I mean, it seems like it's always good. We were getting a contract on that, but EIR contracted for that. So we can talk about it. 20-25% higher than what we did. I'm not sure what that is. I don't know what the reason for that is, but that's just what we've seen. So if we are to go on that state contract like that, then it would be more expensive. So maybe if anything comes up in a few years, renew that contract. Unless that changes. Things I have, the major things that we've got. Yes, actually, yes, I appreciate that. Yeah, we're looking at doing an RFP for voice telephone service for the same reason.
I thought it was going to be the singing show.
You don't.
Okay, no.
Yeah, so we are looking into doing that and getting that written up and out there.
Wow, you're busy.
Yeah,
Very busy.
It's been crazy. It's always all over the place. Which is good.
We have any questions for me? Anybody?
No questions, but just to give the court a little context. So now I work with the IT department directly, and as Brandon moves and continues to move in his directorship role, this is an agenda item that I asked him to put on to inform the court. His items and Mike's items, not them, the people, but the work they do are typically big ticket items. So I always say any opportunity we have to educate the court about what's coming, definitely, I feel like helps down the road. So you may see this agenda item maybe once a month, maybe once every couple months, I'm not sure yet, but that's really kind of the reason why, is to inform the court. And the law enforcement project that Brandon spoke to, that's roughly 60% of their work today. So just to give you a scope of how much time this is taking to get this facility up. Something that's different than what we have today is this disaster recovery site that Brandon spoke to. This is an immediate sync copy of what we do today, where there is a little bit of lead time. So if we were to go down, there is a copy of all the work that happens, but it takes a little to recover that. So that is a synced, instant copy of the work that's happening in the county. So if we did go down, we are working, and I say we, but really they are working on a disaster recovery plan. It's really one of our weaknesses at this point, and some of the equipment is put in place to get ready for something like that. To give everybody kind of scope, the disaster recovery site itself, don't quote me on these numbers, Carrie, keep us in mind, roughly $500,000 for that piece of the project, $1.5 million for all of the other equipment that law enforcement center needs, like the wiring, like the PCs, like the telephone, all those other things, there's the other $1.5 million. So that's different, that's new, that's coming, that's the majority of the work that they're getting ready for. Mike, I think we're still planning on substantial completion January of 17-ish.
January 28th.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I had January, that's all, yeah. So, anyway, just to give the court some context, as you see this agenda item, it's just important for us to watch what their department is doing, so thank you, Brandon, for indulging. 18, I'm sorry, 18, yes.
We're gonna do your reports real fast in case.
I can, yeah, I can.
We're gonna skip over to do the LGC report and we're planning, because she has to leave early. Commissioner Murphy wants to leave a little bit early. I didn't want to get caught up in another. So we're gonna skip over to 21 and 22. You're an update on Walking Road Corporation. And also your update on the
Okay, so item 21, the local government corporation, it will be a very quick update. We were scheduled for a meeting and could not meet because of a lack of a quorum. But what did happen is there was a ribbon cutting at the parking garage, which I think a lot of you were a part of, and Center City presented a check to the local government corporation. But we also got some renderings of what's to come. So I went ahead and left this agenda item, and Commissioner Kelly has seen this, so I'm just gonna pass this down. I thought it was worth keeping the agenda item on, and then we can go ahead and pass that all the way through, Judge. But that's the only update I have on that. I wanted to present the renderings. And then number 22, which is the Neighborhood Planning Committee. Commissioner Vaughn joined this time around, and we worked very closely with AJ Fowler, who is here with us this morning, talking about the projects that are happening in the North Heights area. Commissioner Vaughn, did you want to speak onto any of the projects in the North Heights that AJ?
No, it's just a continuation of what you already spoke.
Okay, so one of the things that's new that they're working on as a part of the neighborhood plan is they're working on a development of an economic policy with a strategic focus in the neighborhood. So that's new, that's a new policy format for the city. So what they're trying to do, think of it like a cafeteria plan, how we pick and choose our insurance benefits. They're trying to put their arms around a policy with a cafeteria plan of different incentives that entice developers to come to these areas. So that's a big shift from a city perspective on policy and how to engage new developers coming. They're also looking at neighborhood zones, if you will, where they're looking at the zoning, the plating, the utility that isn't real fancy, right? That doesn't get a lot of media coverage, but it is important for development that's coming in that area potentially. So they're looking at that. And the Barrio plan, which is the second one, is wrapping up. All of the neighborhood meetings are now completed, and the unveiling of that plan will happen, we think, early in 18. And there will be a big neighborhood cleanup that's pivoted around that. So good dialogue, good conversation. One of the things that I think is great for this court to know is when Mayor Nelson spoke at her city address breakfast, that I think many of us were there. She spoke about the neighborhood plan. So kudos to this court for being a part of that, for starting that. And I think that speaks to the work that we're a part of. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Okay, number 12, Platte County Memorial Stadium release to consider and act upon the approval of a lease contract with Central City Academy for use in the Platte County Memorial Stadium. Brad, Mike, Kim, whoever.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Well, we're bringing up a lease contract to lease the Potter County Stadium from Potter County. So I think you guys have in your packets the lease contract language. We work together, our attorney that we have for our school, worked together with Tad and Scott to hammer out the language and the details that you have before you, and we're here to answer any questions that you may have.
Is there any difference in what we originally came up with? Did y'all change the years?
No, we did not. Yes, term is same,
That's the amount, the dollar amount changed.
I'm not sure we have arrived at the dollar amount at our initial meeting, but this is what San Jacinto proposed.
So the contract is roughly saying an October 1 start, which has already occurred, and you guys have been on that property and that footprint for some time now, really this last year, through 2022. But after 2020, have the ability to early terminate, should you choose to do that. And then the agreement is not any dollars being exchanged, but 7,000, an average amount of 7,000 per contract year. In the effect of resources, labor, materials, or maintenance, that it's in that bucket, right? 7,000, no less than 5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
And then no more than 12,500 in any 1 year. I'm assuming so that doesn't carry over from a big chunk carried over from year to year. The other question I have is actually not as it relates to the contract, because I think this is probably our third or fourth round of trying to get to a good contract. From the perspective of the press box and making sure that the property is safe. I'm assuming there's been discussion and dialogue on how to make sure we're ready to go.
Let me address that.
Yes.
To tell you what we've done already without a contract. We have redone the sprinkler system, we replaced 2 valves, we replaced the control box, we replaced several heads. We've overseeded the infield and the outfield. We already have a sign that's donated to, which will be placed up as soon as this contract is ratified. We've already secured a tournament, a college Division II tournament for August, April, the last of April, so there'll be some teams coming into play, which will be using motels, using restaurants. We've also completed a great portion of the work on the press box. We've done some of the demolition so we can see what we need to do. We've done all of this without a contract. I know in the past that you haven't had real good luck with folks that you lease to. I'm here to assure you're not gonna have that problem with us. We will honor this more than actually I think what's written. And you won't have to club us with a contract at all, because I really believe that our honor supersedes a contract. So we've done a lot already. The $5,000 or $7,000, we've already accomplished that without a contract. The only question is that you have extended the contract to 2022. That's quite a few years for the whole stadium out there. I'm a little concerned about why you would want it that long. Why you have it that many years?
Well, I think there's, and I may be speaking out of turn.
I already know what you're saying.
I'm pretty sure, we're not married, we do have long-term plans to build a complete athletic facility where we can incorporate everything. Is that correct? When that's gonna happen, we don't know. 3 years, 4 years, 5 years.
Was there some thoughts in your back of your head that this may be a facility that you may be looking at, engaging in as part of that?
I don't think so. I think a piece of property where we could contain everything. Football field, softball field, high school gymnasium, just have one campus, so to speak. Right now, you know, we play football in one place, we play baseball in one place, we play basketball in another place. And I think long-term would be to be able to put all that in one piece of property. So we don't know when that's gonna take. I think that was why the option, if within 3 years, if that does happen, we could back out of the contract, but I see us there for a while.
I just, I want to make sure that we each had the opportunity, if it came to that, you come to a new facility or something like that, you could get out, we could allow you to get out.
And one of the things, to answer your question a little bit deeper, is why do we need it so long?
Yeah.
Is because we're gonna have people like Mr. Fuller and others that are gonna invest in that field, and we wanna make sure that we can promise a return on that investment over a span of time. So, we just, if we say we're gonna have it for just 3 years, it's hard for people to buy into that vision.
Another concern I have is at the age of the stadium, what the possible happenings could take place out there. The Penny was pretty important. It's got a lot of issues, and I guess you're directed, one of the main things at press box. And I'm a little concerned about that thing falling in, so.
Well, we're gonna correct that. We've already, the problem with the press box is really just the roof. The other, and we're going to put a new roof on it, and that should address that problem.
So I just think there's some issues out there.
We have lots of ideas for the use of the stadium, other than some of the things I've thrown out here, and I've mentioned this before. This 3 or 4 years down the road, when the new ballpark is built, we would like to be able to talk them into playing one game a season out of Potter County Stadium. We have to get the field in shape to do that, but that would be a Potter County old timers game, so to speak, and use that to help fund some of the upgrades.
I noticed you looked at me right now.
You and I speak.
Well, is this court, in some type of amenable, thoughts or concept of doing some ongoing things to help in the, revitalization of the field, of the ballpark itself, along with what they're doing? We're just kind of sitting on our hands and just saying.
We're just gonna sit on our hands, that's my thought.
Well, we do have a budget item, that we have always had in our budget for what might happen on the lighting. It's a small item, so I don't wanna over speak to that line item. And we know one of the updates we got, the last quarter was some vandalism that occurred on that property. And so I feel certain that it will take that entire line item, if not a little more, to clean up that vandalism. And so Mike and Sheriff and I, we just kind of caught each other after the last court, and we talked about some things that could happen on that property. Even some signage, some type of, laser, something to make sure someone crossed over, an alarm of some type. But the property is huge, it's obviously a huge structure, but to answer your question, there's not a lot of capital dollars.
Well, I appreciate what they've already done with the
Right,
field,
right.
as far as seating and I assume there's some type of landscaping out there that is done, because when we walked out that night, it was pretty hazardous. I was very concerned about the athletes playing on that field, and the condition it was at that time, so.
We did that last year when we first took the field. We redid the infield, and we did some work last year under the sublease, with the previous leasee. We've done more this year.
On that field and all that.
Yes, it will, and that's really a constant thing that has to be addressed.
I certainly appreciate your activity out there and your anxiousness to take over this thing.
We have a lot of excited students and staff members at our school that would relish the thought of being out there on a consistent basis.
I move we approve the lease contract with San Jacinto Academy for use of the Potter County Memorial Stadium.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor, raise your right hand.
Good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate you guys. Okay, number 13, we did that last time, it just got put back on there by mistake. Number 14, sheriff off-duty management contract, consider and act upon the approval of a proposed contract between the sheriff and off-duty management, Inc. of Texas Corporation for logistical support in handling the choice and staffing of deputies for off-duty security services.
Morning. This company contacted us, I went to the sheriff's conference in July, and they later met with us about a month or two ago. And they are, interested in becoming all people, also interested in, because right now, Crystal Pastor will handle it, who was the secretary of the CID. She presently works there like a week. Other than that, to make everybody know that, state for all people working with fellow teams, to, different businesses and, opportunities that also is not extra money. And so, when these folks contact us, it seemed like a win-win for all of us. They have a program where they can push out information on officers' phones, but also access officers to a GPS coordinates, so they can, report here, or they can basically report and show where they can look and see where the officer was and what he's doing, and what he's doing, check it out, which is just, for the situation. this company charges, in addition to the fee, they charge a $5 grand fee for officer per hour. So, Randall County's with this, was doing this, and so then the police department, and all this, works of this, there was an increase, hourly increase for off-duty work from 35 to 40. The PD's already gone $40 an hour. We're gonna go at $40 in January.
Is there a minimum hourly?
4 hours.
4 hours.
4 hours was what we do.
And I'm struggling with what I'm seeing on the outside of this. It looks like we're outsourcing some of our administrative functions. Is that what we're doing? And help me understand what this will fill for us.
Well, what's
This
going
will-
to do is it's gonna free up our employee that we have that's working in a criminal investigation. She's gonna be able to do her job without being tasked with this also. This is coming in, this is work coming in from the public. This is different events that come in that's not really in Potter County. Again, the event is in Potter County and in the city of Potter County or out of the county, Potter County. And these folks are needing security for whatever it is. And it's really outside of what Crystal's duties are. Because we had such influx of this work, we need to find somebody to do that. And so she's kept up with this. And so we'd like to give to this company to handle this job, which is really not a sheriff's office taxpayer type task. And we'd like to have this company do it. And be responsible for hiring, for pushing these text messages out, getting officers on the work, getting officers paid, and not having to mess with the county employee messing with this.
And how will we pay them?
This company will pay them. They'll pay them. They're gonna actually be contracted through the company. They'll get a 1099, and they will be paid by the company, the vendor, the person that hires them, will pay the company.
So the
$5
deputy,
per hour.
For our service fee?
That's what they charge a fee to handle this, but they charge the county, not the county, they charge the vendor or the person that's requesting the services.
Potter County not involved.
Potter County doesn't pay a dime for any of the services. It's just gonna free up.
One of the concerns I had, you talked about the company keeping up with the officers, and what their functions are, where they're at. I mean, is that not concerning you? So the company has the ability to keep up with the officer, where he's at, when he's there, what he's doing. Had to do this to a computer.
Well, it's gonna
I don't
be,
think I do that to the.
when he logs into the job, it's gonna be on his phone. It's gonna be like a smartphone. And when he shows up in the job, he'll slide the ball across. I don't know exactly how it's gonna work, but basically, I'm on duty. I'm here. I was reporting the whole time, and I'm here. And then there's a function that does a GPS mapping that the person that hired them, the company that hired them, can show what they did. They just didn't lean on the wall or sit on the bench. They moved around.
That's what I'm concerned about. I was used to doing that.
So they.
would the deputies like that though? That seems like they wouldn't like that.
You asked about the administrative jobs. Yes, we're actually passing administrative duties off to this company because right now Crystal's doing this and it's no gain to the county. She's doing the work for a deputy to go out and work off duty. We shouldn't be doing that. Let this company handle that, and then she can start spending her time doing her business instead of doing this business. She spends about 60% of her time trying to find somebody working off duty job.
So we have one deputy, let's say one deputy in the middle. I'm thinking through some HR policy in my head. I'm thinking through a few things. So you have a deputy who is employed by Potter County, we're their primary employer, and then they're employed by this ODM, this off-duty management company. So they have two employers. The ODM gives them a 1099 at the end of the year, where we give them all the stuff that normally were their primary. How do we, since we're in the middle and it's Potter County.
This has been going on for years. When we provided security out at the baseball stadium, we didn't pay them. The baseball stadium paid them. Same thing with the fair. We don't pay them, the fair pays them. That's gone through the contract and is agreed with the contract. It looks fine. The other part of this too is that they're picking picking up the liability and the insurance on the officer. if they
How
get
does the
hurt.
company choose the officer to, work that event?
They'll send out a push notification, they'll say, we have a job to work the fair, we got.
Those officers would go and.
They'll just send
They
it,
volunteer.
they'll send it to us,
Outside.
30 officers, 30 officers will get this alert, and the first 30, or the first 10, whatever the job is, the second will take the job, and those folks will get the job.
We have a list right now of 50 officers that are willing to work off duty. Crystal sits there and calls each one of them. Well, they all work different hours, so she may call you and wait 16 hours before you ever call back, before you go, no, I don't wanna do that. So then we gotta move the wing on to find somebody for Friday. And so she spends a lot of time. So this is really gonna cut down on that because it'll push it out to everybody, and then whoever calls first one in. We're gonna call one.
Katy, Texas is one, and Amarillo, or I saw Katy, Texas, yeah, the main office.
They
came here and met with us, but.
It'll still be done.
And
Doesn't really affect the county, it doesn't, the county's not paying anything to do this. It's just something that's gonna benefit or help us run our office more smoothly and more efficient. Without having to have Crystal.
Right now, I mean, we're picking up a lot of the off-duty jobs from the police department because they're short-handed, and so those guys would rather work an extra shift and get time and a half, plus going into retirement, than they would work any of the off-duty jobs, so we're getting overrun with the off-duty jobs right now.
So we're going to $40 an hour in January.
Yes.
Right now it's 35, we're gonna go to
35, right?
35 right now, we're a minimum of 4 hours, length of time, and it's gonna go to 40, but like I said, the PD's already there.
what's their price?
And that doesn't really have anything to do with this. We're all trying to stay at the same, so we're not undercutting each other.
So imagine, my question was, I'm interested to know what's Randall County's price point and what's APD's price point, because,
Everybody's wanting the 40.
so tell me from a deputy lens. So there are jobs that we always do, right? Like, we've always kind of done the fair, we've always done, the 5 to 10 things that always have become Potter County's thing. When we now have a company that can see, right, availability, and that wants to see availability across APD and across Randall County and Potter County, I think some of those deputies like this off-duty work.
Sure.
Because it's an extra supplement. How do we make sure that we're still giving them, like, we're not losing work?
We gave them a list of the current jobs that we have, the fair being one of them, and everything out at the fairgrounds, and there's several other ones that we gave them a list. And said, these are our accounts, basically, these are our jobs. So the sheriff's office employees get those opportunities first. It's when they can't fill them, or somebody doesn't want to work, and now they've got to scramble or look for another agency, and then the hospital's office can work, and then they'll go to the police department, and then maybe even Randall County. And Randall County and the police department are doing the same way, PD will try to fill it through their people, and if the job's in Potter County, they'll use Potter County deputies, maybe Potter County constables. And or if it's a Randall County, they'll do the same thing with the Randall County folks.
We do that now with the fair. We try to fill that with their deputies. Half the time, we cannot fill that whole week with our guys, so we call the police department. They work, we have DPS working out there, we have a constable working out there, everybody works.
Another question.
Has for years.
Just say that nobody can get to a Randall County function, can they use Potter County deputies at that function?
They're out to use them. They don't have a lot of issues with it. I mean, we can go down there, but we're limited on what we can enforce. It's just like, we don't work at the civic center because we can't enforce.
It's the same thing as the Santa Fe building. I would not feel
And we-
comfortable
and
having
we
a
are
police
gonna-
officer or Randall County deputy in our building.
I'll share with you that the Santa Fe building will be handled in-house. Crystal will continue to do the Santa Fe building and find folks to work for and security. This company won't have, there won't be any charge to the county.
Carrie, what did we not think through?
And I guess it's just good business practices.
And what spurred this dialogue? Like, it's interesting, so Randall County has already moved to it, and APD?
Well, I don't know, it's like, police department, the last conversation I had with them, both entities were moving to approached this direction and said, yes, that's what we're gonna do. We all three met, we visited with this company and agreed this is what everybody was gonna do. There wasn't gonna be any undercutting, everybody was gonna be at the same price point, price level, and again, most of them went to the 40 before. We have, I feel like the sheriff here felt like January was the time to go to the increase of $40.
So whatever contract we have right now through the Santa Fe building, you will honor that until January.
I did send them in.
And even if they've already, if somebody's already made reservations for January, we're gonna keep that at this time.
I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the contract with the off-peak bid.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, did you raise your right hand?
I did.
Okay, so 5-0, thank you so much, guys.
Can you use an older guy, retired guy? Can I get on
You'll have to get your commission again, I don't know if you can do all that. You're gonna stay up past 9 o'clock too.
And get up before 9. Yeah, and get up before 9, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, number 15, law enforcement secret project to consider and act on the approval of proposed amendment number 5 to Architects contract providing for survey and landscape planning services in relation to demolition of the sheriff administration building located at 608 South Pierce. John Keel.
So you should have received a copy of the proposed contract amendment for agenda packet today. What the advisory committee is proposing is that the county do some work after the demolition of the sheriff's office. It's all part of the law enforcement center project is completed. We're about 75% complete now on the law enforcement center, as Mike indicated earlier. That project should be wrapped up sometime toward the end of January, at which point in time then we'll transition to focusing attentions on the demolition of the building. Now, the amendment, something's going to be done to that piece of property eventually. And so the purpose of the amendment is basically to clear the canvas for whatever may be drawn on it down the road. Rather than leave that piece of property in as just a earthen lot, once that work is completed, possibly create a situation whereby you put convert under down, some grass or something, to at least keep the lot looking attractive. Now, that's something yet to be determined, but with this amendment, basically, you're doing all the work that can allow that to happen down the road. Yes, sir. Yes, all, so that once, as the planning process progresses, and you decide whether you're gonna move forward or if you're just gonna wait and continue to weigh your options for that piece of property, you can do something with it. You can throw some grass down. You can make it somewhat of a pocket park for the time being until such time you decide to move forward with whatever the future of that piece of property holds. It's a relatively minor amendment. It's about $3,800 all told. That would complete all the work that needs to be done. I should mention that this work is being done through your design services agreement with Architects, but basically all the dollars, all the $3,800 will be passed through to the subcontractors that will be doing that work. So we're just using that contract for the mechanism to get the solution done. So I mentioned earlier that the advisory committee had considered this item, recommended that the board approve this contract amendment, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Is there, it's just gonna be a flat piece of grass, it's not gonna have any.
We talked about a water
Tony Ryan.
We spoke to the city about this. What we're gonna do is make sure they understand it's temporary, that we don't have to meet all the standards to beautify that area. We're gonna keep the wrought iron fence on the southern portion of it, and on the northern portion, we're gonna put up bollards with nice looking chains through there. The gate entries for the public to walk into. We still are keeping the wrought iron gates, that way if we need to take a vehicle into it, we can. So it'll be a nice looking piece of property. We're not tearing out any approaches or anything like that to the curves. It's just
Pardon?
Well, we thought about that, but I presented this to Judge Tanner the other day. We know we'll be competing with the city if we do that for the free parking unless we put in something to, you know, restrict people, meter, whatever, you know, start that.
Don't encourage us.
Don't start with me about parking right now.
I mean, that's up to y'all, how you want to proceed forward. I just need direction and instead of dirt waiting, because the original plan was to have this, whatever happened on the building time, to be back up this kind of year.
Have to put a sprinkler system in?
We'll have to put a sprinkler system in, irrigate it, and it'll actually be a nice looking water.
My staff can go and water it.
I agree with you. I don't think we need to compete with the city with any more parking. I think we have plenty of parking. Parking is not the problem, walking is the problem. And I think the grass area would be perfect.
And we'll maintain it with our crews.
I move that we approve the amendment number 5 to Architects' contract providing for survey and landscape planning services.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor, raise your right hand. 4-0. Thank you very much. Number 16, tech share renewal contract. Consider and act upon the approval of the tech share 2018 renewal contract. You put this on there, Randall?
I actually put it on there. It's a standard renewal contract. What I didn't know, I don't know about the dollars. It's a formula that was for the counties. I don't think anything's changed. I don't know about the dollars, but it's a formula.
Well, what is it, we owe $39,985 for our annual? Right.
That's what we had for last year's insurance.
What is actually
I think as long as it's lower than it was last year, don't need a question at all.
Now, I have multiple copies. It'll need to be something, so I can bring those down.
I have this one in my packet, is this one that can?
That was just,
Okay. You got it.
I just had one, so I'll bring it down.
We don't see anything changing with the shares and
It's the same agreement all together.
this is why we need $6,000.
Well, it goes into that because I didn't look at the extra. But they do a calculation according to their actual expenses from the prior year.
I move we approve the tech share 2018 renewal contract for $39,985.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor, raise your right hand. 4-0. What did you say? What did you say?
I don't know, I have a way with people. They start deep.
Yeah, you got rid of two so far.
What should I say?
You better keep us. Okay, number 17, Orkin Pest Control Contract. Consider and act upon cancellation of the county's pest control contract with Orkin pursuant to contract's 30-day cancellation clause and authorization to engage another contractor as needed in the interim. Mike. Or Vicky.
Vicky, I'll
Well, actually, I was trying to, I wrote my notes here, this contract was awarded, I was sorry I didn't find a copy, because I was thinking about the processes that we've been trying to take care of. There was a issue some time ago about just different customer service issues that I had. Anytime work would need to be done, I would get phone calls back. So I had started making what I call a care notice, met with them, different departments, and we try to resolve some things, and I ended up emailing the departments, and everybody kind of gave us their concerns. And then I ended up sending an email to the actual representative, which his name is Johnny Wiseman. I emailed him, and he emailed me back. He said, "You're exactly right. You're not getting the customer service you deserve. That's why I resigned." So he don't want to work. So then we ended up having a meeting with the supervisor and tried to identify all the different things that had not been being done. I proceeded to call him, and he said that he had not returned my phone calls because he was overwhelmed. And so then to kind of go a little bit further, he contacted me and said that they were a no-show. Is that a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
We've had two.
2 times there's no-show. And so the contract does have a clause in it that it's a 30-day termination clause. And so that's what's like. Facilities came to me and said they'd like to terminate. And so that's where we are today.
The first part of this.
Yes.
One,
Do you have comments?
just one quick comment. One thing that we look at when we take this into consideration is we have been down this road before. This is the first time. We bring in these big corporate businesses. They come in, they give you advice. The small guy that's here locally that does a great job, he gets knocked out. We've done this 2 or 3 different times. One thing that we've done, and Nicholas is one that deserves all the credit. I had taken for granted that a lot of our contracts were up to par, things were going correctly. We since found out that Nicholas has really jumped on top of these contracts and trying to figure out what's going on, all these complaints. One thing that I've got tired of hearing here within the last 2 months is with the previous person, we told him about, nothing got done. If we got a problem, we need to fix it. We got a problem with these contracts, so that's why we're presenting to y'all today. I think they're basically ripping the camera off.
I think we had a discussion on this company maybe last year about them not performing at all, not showing up at places that they said they're showing up and doing the job. So it's not the first time. So do we have a backup plan once we run this company?
We do have, go ahead.
Yeah, we have, the second, is ACE. And they've, from my understanding, it was before my time, helped out before. They said they would honor the same price that they did on the project in 2015. And so they told us that they would be willing to work with facilities and see if we can go ahead for this next year. We're actually in our 3rd year, actually coming out December 1 would be our 3rd year. So they said
They're a local company?
Yes.
They're the ones
We always had, we had him before, we had him before, I don't know why we switched.
When Ace followed at the time of hitting 2015.
They, on their larger buildings, these 60, 100,000 square foot buildings, they're higher, Orkin's lower. When you get to the smaller buildings, it's vice versa. These big companies can take a hit on these big square footages and lose them in order to get the business. And that's where we've had the issue. That plus the type of services they're providing is inadequate, unacceptable.
Not like they're giving us the business.
They are, and ACE, y'all been back to them 2 or 3 different times. They're a local company, father and son operation. They do an outstanding job. They've actually bringing some new options to the table too, where we don't have to spend the manpower to be with them 8 hours a day on Saturday. Take them around all the buildings. We put barcodes in all of the buildings. They will enter the buildings, scan that barcode. It'll be one of the furthest points from the entry. That way they have to go through it to scan the barcode.
Are they big enough to take care of the county?
Oh, yes, they are.
But the price is minimal. Under Mike's department, will actually
We'll take
the
biggest hit. And that was one of the things we discussed was due to the monetary value of this is it's not really big enough to put out for bids. I think some of the previous purchasing agents kind of pushed that on, low, hey, let's put it out to bid, let's put it out to bid and stuff like that. These are the problems we have in the
I have a recommendation that we move forward with Mike's plan with the ACE, but not put this into a contract do a 3-2, that gets you into, this contract is done, you really don't have an opportunity to come back and say, hey, let's look at performance. So I think right now, we probably need to do this.
And as the 30-day clock started, we had not started.
My understanding, Ted, that we have to start today. That's what I need I need the approval to allow that.
But they've been a no-show here the last 2 times, most recent was last week. We cannot afford to allow any of the county buildings to get a month, 2 to 3 months behind. We need to get some time to service.
Am I correct if I'm wrong? My understanding is that these families haven't been sprayed about 2 months.
So typically our bids that we shadow those companies that come in, it's those large companies, into the various facilities.
We had to shadow them and had maybe still, this local company, we trust them, they're insured, they're bonded, so I don't have an issue with allowing them in our buildings. We do the same thing with their electrical contractor, they have keys to our buildings. We feel very comfortable with this company.
Sounds to me like they've already broken the contract, I would need to give them 30 days.
In this case, it doesn't really matter because it's a pay as you go, I think, pay for their services. Right? So if they're not gonna provide any service, we're not gonna pay them anything. So we can give them a 30-day notice, go ahead and send us today, so that.
I still pay the contract itself, I mean, 30 days.
Well, you can always terminate for a breach. This contract has, you can terminate for any reason or no reason, 30 days notice. We might as well do that, it's easier.
If we give them the 30 days and, can they still come in and perform their duties, or?
We won't allow them to build.
Okay, so we're just gonna go with days if that's, if we decide to.
Yes, sir.
Is that a motion, Commissioner?
Yeah, I make a motion that we terminate the contract with the work and bring on the lease company.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. 4-0. Thank you, Vicki and Mike. Number 18, resolution relocation of fire station number 3 to consider and act upon the approval of a proposed resolution confirming the county's relocation of fire station number 3 from its former location at 4843 North Swansea Road and recognizing the reversion of title to that property to the state and heirs of Martha Bishop Bowman. Hi.
Good morning.
I mean, we can't keep doing
When we originally started working on the new Station 3, we pulled the title and deed, whatever the proper phrases are. And it says that land, as long as we use it for a fire station, it belongs to the county. The county paid $10 for it in the 80s. And so it reverts back to the original owners. Been working on this off and on, since we got into the new building. Got all the paperwork completed now, so it's time to just.
I had a taxpayer call and wanted to know if you could have it. And, I thought maybe we might want to check into that, so.
I was getting calls on it before we even got the new station started. When are you going to sell that old building?
Is this going to the estate?
The grant award has passed. To my understanding, there's 2 heirs, 2 daughters, and they're represented by counsel in Victoria, Texas. So this resolution is really just a title document. If the court approves it, we'll file it in the court. I'll send it a copy of that.
It's a change of title. They're responsible for taking down the building?
No.
We're not responsible for taking down the building.
There was nothing in the deed said we would turn it in the condition we found it or anything like that.
Make sure there's no additional cost.
And actually, there's some value on the land that was not there when we got it. The building's worth something apparently, and there's a well on it.
I move we approve the resolution confirming the county's relocation of fire station number 3 from its former location at 4843 North Swansea Road and recognizing reversion of title to the property to the estate and heirs of Martha Bishop Wilson.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second, all in favor, raise your right hand. 4-0, thank you very much, thanks, Pat. Number 19, Motorola project, to receive a report from the county project management team regarding progress on the Motorola radio communication and emergency response team of Dallas.
Hello. Since we last spoke, there hadn't been a whole lot of changes. The only real things that have changed or progressed since then is we've met with, or South Plains has met with Princer Management Group, which is the family. They have agreed verbally, and now they are working on getting the contract signed for the exact location of the North Tower, and they're working out their details. Apparently, there's multiple family members that have to sign that contract. The only other change is we did get FAA approval for our tower out at the Law Enforcement Center. We had to go through the FAA to get the approval due to the glide slope. There's a radius around the airport that requires them to do a surveying study to make sure no airplanes are headed for the height we were requesting.
Questions? Any questions? Thank you, appreciate you. Number 20, vehicle and equipment purchase, to consider action on the following: the purchase of one police SUV for Constable Precinct 2 from Caldwell Country in the amount of $37,105, utilizing the buy-for contract number 52116. And B, equipment for a boat SUV from Big Country Supply, COP Sync Inc. in Galls, in the total amount of $10,632.05. Funds available from the jail grant.
This is just a, first to get approved, on that tag grant that, so the equipment will be on the vehicle, so I wanted to address that as two parts. Also for the equipment. I mean, as far as the SUV. It actually will be added on, we have to do separate purchase. Do you have anything?
I'm sorry, I could
Georgia,
hear
do you
you.
have anything?
No, before, when you said I could not hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry, it was, I just said that the equipment was actually gonna be placed on the units. Both the equipment and the vehicle are with the tag grant.
Right. It includes both. It's to outfit the vehicle and the vehicle itself.
Percent, you use it 50, that's what
I know that, person wants to SUV or Constable 2 in Caldwell Country in the amount of $36,105, utilizing the buyback contract 521-16. And also the equipment for the boat SUV from Big Country Supply, CO Incorporated in Galls, in the total amount of $10,632.05. And funds available from JAG grants. That's it.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor, raise your hand. 4-2. Mine is.
I'm sorry, I was kind of. I was doing.
I know, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I'm trying, can you hear me now? That's silly. It's on.
Could be the construction outside the train. Number 13. Yeah, we did that last time, so it was, yeah. Sorry about that. Okay, going on to number 23, employment items, to consider and act upon the following employment items: Road and Bridge, the employment of Jose Chavez as maintenance tech as a replacement for Marco Ramirez, effective October 9, 2017, and the employment new position of Joshua Arrington as maintenance tech, effective October 9, 2017. Motion on that.
Move we approve the employment items as presented.
Okay. Motion and second, all in favor, raise your hand. 4-0, thank you very much. Park County projects, Mike.
Just a couple of items, regarding the baseball stadium. Ted had sent out notice to Luke Monday and Gary Ellison for them to remove their properties, giving them a deadline of November 17th, I believe it was, to remove their property. Today, Nicholas will be meeting with Luke Monday out there to hopefully start that process. We will not be the referees of what they understand, they know what's theirs, what is not theirs. Two basic, Gary and Luke Monday. On the jail project,
Let's put relations, at the end of that deadline date, if we don't remove the property, it had not been removed,
becomes Carter County property.
We told them we would deem it abandoned and dispose of it in accordance with chapter 263 of the local code.
On the jail project, on the emergency fire line, the emergency we had the other day, that's been completed. We finished drying the building out last Friday, so we've been working with Servpro on that. The law enforcement center project, the ones that has not had the opportunity, now be a good time to come to look at it, we start to close everything up, it's come together. The buildings are nearly sheetrock, painting and texture will start here within the next few weeks. The buildings are pretty well weathered in. On the side, you have parking lots going in, driveways, landscaping, so it'll start coming together here real quick. And that is it.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Number 25, the jail report, we have 582 people in our jail, 91 of those are female. We have 0 in any other detention center. 83% of those are felons and 10% are misdemeanors. Any county insurance items? County insurance executive session, none. Agenda items for next time.
couple items, starting the public defender's, presentations, people on the agenda. And also, I'd like to see the parking lot, on the item too, to have some discussion on how well we are actually utilizing that facility.
Okay, anything else? Okay. There's nothing else, so we are adjourned.